President Trump is set to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today. It's their second face-to-face meeting since Trump's return to office. This morning, Israelis protested outside Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem, calling for a hostage release deal. Today, the country is marking a year and a half since Hamas launched its deadly attacks on October 7th, 2023. And there appears to be no end to the fighting. Israeli forces reportedly struck tents outside two major hospitals in Gaza overnight. Officials there say the attack killed at least 2 people, including a local journalist. Over the weekend, Hamas fired a barrage of rockets into Israel. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, Israeli forces killed a Palestinian teenager with U.S. citizenship. The IDF says it shot a terrorist who it claimed was endangering civilians by throwing rocks. For more on all this, I want to bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio. Ramy, good morning. Thanks for joining us. A lot of developments in the Middle East to talk about. What will the region be looking for in this meeting between President Trump and Netanyahu?
Michael, yes, good morning there. Well, a lot to talk about between the two leaders. The war in Gaza, obviously. Trump's tariffs on Israel and Iran are expected to be all on the agenda. And it has been 3 weeks since my team and I were in Israel reporting on the IDF restarting those airstrikes on the Gaza Strip in a further breakage of the ceasefire. And since then, 3 weeks again, about 1,400 more people have been killed in Gaza. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry. There are still believed to be about 6 hostages held, both alive and dead there. As for the tariffs, Trump slapped 17% tariffs on Israel last week in his so-called Liberation Day tariffs around the world. Netanyahu, though, had tried to preempt that by saying that he would end all tariffs on U.S. goods first, but that, we now know, did not work. And then there's Iran and its nuclear threat there, also set to be high on the agenda. Netanyahu is expected to be in Washington through tomorrow, but it is also possible that that could be extended if they need to talk further.
Now, Ramy, earlier we mentioned the death of a teenager, a U.S. citizen in the West Bank. What more do we know about that?
Yeah, actually, this is at least the 3rd time since last year in February that an American citizen has been killed by Israeli forces in the West Bank. This time, it was a 14-year-old boy, Omar Mohammed Rabeh is his name, killed in a town about 25 miles north of Jerusalem. And the mayor of that town said that an Israeli settler shot and killed him and then wounded 2 other teens who were with him. The IDF does have its side of the story. In a statement, it said that its soldiers identified what they called 3 terrorists, their words, who were throwing rocks at a highway, and they said were putting drivers at risk. And there you can see the body of that slain teenager. It's important to remind everyone that since the terror attacks of October 7th, led by Hamas, Israeli settler attacks over in the West Bank, again, a separate part of the Palestinian territories, have surged. The UN says that more than 1,800 attacks happened through the end of last year. We're now in the 2nd quarter of this year, so no doubt the numbers have risen since then. And when President Trump returned to the White House, he rolled back sanctions that Biden had put in place on those settlers. We now know which has empowered them even more, Michael.
Ramy, Israel's military is changing its official account of the killing of 15 Palestinian medics last month. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this has been something that we've been talking about over the past couple days, over the weekend. It's because of found video on a mobile phone that belonged to one of those medics who was killed. This video, very, very raw. In it, we can see a convoy of emergency vehicles there. You can see on your screen with their lights flashing, the red crescent just on the back of that vehicle. They were looking for colleagues who had come under fire earlier. They found that vehicle and then got out to inspect it, and then they came under a barrage of gunfire that we can hear and see in that video as well, that went on for something like 5 minutes. The man who owned this cell phone video that we're watching here could then be heard reciting a prayer. He was killed. His body, their bodies, and those cars were actually all found bulldozed and then buried in the sand just along that road in a mass grave that was then found a week later. The IDF says that its initial account, its words, mistaken. In that statement, it said those several vehicles were advancing suspiciously with no headlights or no emergency signals. We saw it for ourselves. They did have those on. The IDF says that all claims here will be, in its words, deeply examined.
All right, Ramy Inocencio, thanks for joining us.